Has God called you to do the work of the ministry, but yet you're frustrated with the results that you're seeing? Frustration is a dangerous time for those in the ministry, because with the frustration comes the temptation to quit. If that's you, I invite you to join in on today's session of Leadership on the Run. Hello and good morning. I appreciate so much your willingness to join us on this week's session of Leadership on the Run. You'll recall that over the past 2 weeks we've been dealing with the subject of the frustration of the sower. And I want you to understand that everyone that sows the seed of the ministry at some point is going to get frustrated. And that's the subject matter that we've been dealing with in this series. You will recall that we were using Matthew chapter 13. The parable that is listed there reads this way. A farmer went out to sow his seed. As he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly, because the soil was shallow. But when the sun came up, the plants were scorched, and they withered because they had no root. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. Still other seed fell on good soil, where it produced a crop, 100, 60, and 30 times what was sown. Whoever has ears, let him hear. As you recall, in dealing with the frustrations of the sower, we have thoroughly covered the perspective of the seed itself. In this particular parable, though, Jesus compares the minister and the farmer. And we know that the farmer himself, we know that farmers themselves have different levels of qualification. Some sow based on their knowledge only. In other words, they have the education in order to sow. They've gone off to university, they've learned agriculture, and so now they've purchased a farm and they're going out to do the work of a farmer. So some are doing the work of a farmer or sower based solely upon their education. Well, there are others that are farming. They didn't have the luxury of formal education. They are the ones that sow based on their experience, maybe something that their fathers had taught them, something that's been handed down from generation to generation. And I want you to know that the ministry has both types of people as well. People who have degrees and ordination certificates, and they're highly educated, and they minister based on their education, not necessarily their experience with God. We have other people that what they have is an experience with God, but they don't know anything, and they're learning as they go. And I understand that. But what I'm saying is this, that there are all types that are sowing the seed, and that is one of the factors that causes the results to be different. I can tell you one thing, that I wouldn't want to be the one that was doing it based solely upon education, because these people with a great experience will show you up in a hurry. Not only that, there are people out there that have very little experience. Maybe they have a young age, they've had a lack of opportunity. Some lack mentors, no one to teach them how to farm, and that's also true in the ministry. There are a lot of young ministers out there. They don't know a great deal. They take their first church and they just tear it all to pieces. They make all kinds of mistakes. Boy, that's frustrating to that young minister. It'll certainly take the wind out of their sails. There are some that they just don't have the opportunity to sow as they want to, and they're constantly looking for someone to, quote, let them preach. Now, I will tell you that if you have a genuine calling in the ministry, you don't have to have a pulpit in order to preach. As long as you can find a street corner, as long as you can find a barber shop where they cut hair, whatever the case may be, if it's the grocery store, it doesn't matter. You can minister the word wherever God has you. You need to bloom where you're planted. And you just need to understand that there are different levels of experience out there that are doing the work of the ministry. The most tragic thing to me is those that are out doing the ministry and they lack a mentor. I'm not one of them. I have a godly man of God, a powerful man of God who has served as my mentor all of these years. And even today, if I got a phone call and he said, "Boy, you're doing it wrong," then I would listen to him because God has called me to listen and allow him to speak into my life. And I will tell you, it has had a great impact on me. If you're doing the work of the ministry and you don't have a mentor, you need to find one. Find somebody that you trust to speak into your life, to slap your hand when your hand needs to be slapped, to tell you when you're going the wrong direction. If you have that in your life, then that is invaluable. I'm always afraid of these that get out and they are doing the work of the ministry and they're the Lone Ranger. It's a scary thing. There are also some that have a lifetime of experience. Maybe they were raised by a pastor, or they have generations of faith in their families. They were raised in church. They've learned all of the lessons. They were in all of the Sunday school classes, if you will. I wish that I could say that I was from a family of similar nature, but I will tell you that this walk began with my grandmother. She was in a Southern Baptist church. She received the baptism of the Holy Spirit while in that church. Of course, that church did not believe in the baptism of the Holy Spirit. They asked her to leave, and so fortunately, an Assemblies of God minister took her in and showed her a more excellent way. And so I'm very thankful for that. And she had a great impact on my life and still does even to this day, though she's been passed for many years. So some have a lifetime of experience. There are also some that have diverse levels of talent. They have different skill sets, if you will. I'll give you, for instance, there are some that are better at administration than others. Administration is one of my spiritual gifts. It has been. And I can't lie to you. Administration comes easy to me in a church, but I have served under some pastors who had absolutely no clue when it came to administration. They didn't know how to manage money in their own life. They didn't know how to manage the church's money. They didn't know how to make decisions based on the resources available. And so they were constantly frustrated and frustrating those around them because they lacked that gift. But there are diverse skill sets. Some are better at the day-to-day operations of the church than others. There are some that they want to go in their office, they want to lock their door, and they'll sit in their office all day as if the work of the ministry is in the office. It's not in the office. The work of the ministry is out there. You need to be out knocking on doors, ministering to your people. You need to go. My favorite type of ministry, I'm going to be honest with you, it's not in the pulpit. My favorite type of ministry is going and sitting on someone's porch and having a cup of coffee with them and just sharing faith and just build up their faith while you're there. Pray for them while you're there. That's my favorite thing. Unfortunately, I'm bivocational and I don't get an opportunity to do that near as much as I would like. So there are diverse levels of skill sets out there. And then there are different personal qualities of the individuals doing the work of the ministry. Some are leaders, some really aren't. Some are friendly, some really aren't. Some are great negotiators, some no, some are not. It's kind of like going out to buy a car. Early on, after I got married, I was the one that did the negotiation on the cars because I could get the better deal. And it would embarrass my wife. As a matter of fact, her grandmother had to have a car. She asked me to go and negotiate the price. I embarrassed her so much. She's like, just buy the car. Just buy the car. Because I can negotiate. I've gotten a little more lax in my old age, and now my wife has gotten better at negotiating even than I am. And so there are some that have different personality traits, and those personality traits will affect the level of harvest that you can expect to see. You know, if you're a pastor or you're doing the work of the ministry, and you have the attitude of a dead wet fish, and you're constantly giving sarcasm and criticism, and the glass is always half empty. You're not speaking faith, you're speaking hindrance. That affects the level of harvest that you will see. And you need to know that there are differences in personalities out there, and those personalities can affect the harvest. Not only are there different levels of qualifications of sowers, but there's also different resources available to them. And that is a subject that I will approach next week. We're out of time today. God bless you for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you next week.